Aim big. Don't be afraid to start up something new. Get out of your comfort zone and just really strive for greatness. That would be a really nice advice for anyone who's really trying to achieve what their goals in life is.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Commerce, Coffee, and Community Podcast Entrepreneurs Edition. Today, I'm joined by Erick Raymundo, owner of Film My Ride. How's it going today, Eric?
Good, thanks. You?
Good. Very well today. I'll get you to start off today's episode by telling us a little bit about your background, Eric, where you grew up, and what made you to decide to move to Prince George.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Brandon, for inviting me to be part of this podcast regarding your Commerce Coffee and Community Entrepreneur Edition. Yeah. So to start up, I'm Erick Raymundo. So uh, my background is I was born and raised in the Philippines. And then 2014, there was an opportunity for me to go here in Canada, especially here in Prince George, and start up another chapter of my life with my wife. So that's where everything starts off.
No, that's great. So you were able to come from the Philippines, move to Prince George,
hmm
start your family here,
hmm
and that's really great to see. What is it that you did back in the Philippines?
Well, before I moved here in Prince George, I used to be managers of certain businesses, but the last one was a fast food chain,
Okay,
which is one of, or I mean, the biggest fast food chain in the Philippines. It's almost synonymous as McDonald's in the Philippines, which
gotcha.
is Jollibee. And I think
Okay,
Jollibee now is getting popular here in Canada.
right.
One just opened in Vancouver. There's at least two locations in Calgary and also in Edmonton. So
Gotcha. So a little bit of like Philippine food coming over, and
yes.
that's really
Mhm.
exciting. I've heard good things. I've got to try it one of these days.
Yeah, for sure. Especially the chicken and spaghetti.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, really?
yep.
Okay. That's very interesting.
Mhm.
With that, tell us kind of how you got, you came here, you moved here with your wife. What did you do for work starting out here in Prince George?
When I first moved here in Prince George, I started working on one of another fast food chain. So I started on that one, and then maybe 3 months after that, I was managed to land a job in a dealership to work as a car wash guy. So that's where my career in car industry started here in Prince George as a
Right.
car wash.
Right. And how did that play a role in how the idea for Film My Ride came? What would you say kind of motivated that start of
Mhm.
Film My Ride?
Yeah, when I started as a car wash guy in the dealership, the only things that I'm doing is really just washing vehicles, right?
Right.
And then maybe a year after, I was offered to move to detailing, so it's another part of the business. So started doing detailing, and then the dealership started offering the paint protection film and window tinting, and they asked me if I want to be trained.
Right.
So that's where my experience came with regards to paint protection film and window tinting. So I did this one for almost 3 years,
Right.
and then before I decided to open up my own business.
Right. That's really exciting. So, you were able to learn the skills at your
Mhm.
job here. And then, you took that step into moving into entrepreneurship. What would you say is sort of the mission behind Film My Ride?
Well, as always, since I came from a service industry, no matter what kind of business you are in, as long as it's service oriented, there's always one mission is to always provide a quality service
Yeah.
and also to give a total customer satisfaction, right?
Right.
So for me, Feel My Ride, that's what really the mission of Feel My Ride is, just to always provide a quality service and provide a customer satisfaction.
Absolutely. No, those are great missions, I think, for any entrepreneur to have. Your customer is really king in the business of
Yes.
running your own business, right? So, um, you know, you've talked about your journey so far and working in a dealership, but I understand you've been a car guy for a really long time, right?
Yes, actually, my fascination with cars started when I was still 10.
Okay.
Back in the Philippines, owning a vehicle is really a luxury. It's
Okay.
not a necessity. Not everyone can afford even a used vehicle. So growing up, I only managed to have a bicycle. So I put up my own bicycle. We don't usually buy uh, already assembled bicycles in the Philippines. We usually
Okay.
source out parts or something like that, do on
Yeah.
your own. So that's where my inclination with vehicles started. And then after that, I was able to manage to own a vehicle after graduating college, even though it's just a second-hand vehicle. That's the first time I was able to at least own my own vehicle, something
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Right. That's a huge step. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I think that's really cool that there's that custom bike culture going
Mm-hmm.
on. It fits so well into what car guys love to do. They
Yeah,
love to
tinkering their
customize.
vehicles, right?
Exactly.
Tinkering their ride.
Yeah. So I got to ask, of course, that to follow up with that, what would be your absolute dream car?
Absolute dream car. Since even in the Philippines, I was really a Nissan fanatic.
Right.
Currently, I own a 1982 Datsun 280ZX
Wow. Very
and a
cool.
1987 Nissan 300ZX.
Very
So I'm
cool.
really into a Z car. So if you're
Yep.
gonna ask me what's my dream car, it's still gonna be the 240Z or
Okay.
240Z, the first generation Datsun Z car, something like
Right.
that. And also another one would be the GTR. If you're
Of
really on a
course.
Nissan, it's either of the two, right? So yeah.
Right. That's very cool.
Yeah.
Now, on the weekend in your off time, not that you have a bunch of
Mhm.
that, you're a very busy guy.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to do here in the community?
Well, actually, with regards to, let's say, events or usual activities, I usually spend time with my kids doing camping and fishing.
Right.
Whenever I have free time, we always go to the nearest lake that we have,
Yeah.
just do some fishing, just teaching them how to do fishing and also camping because we have lots of
Yeah.
recreational places in here. I mean,
Such a great area for
campgrounds,
it.
there's lots of it.
Yeah.
And aside from that one, I'm also part of Prince George Community Band.
Oh,
I
okay.
play trombone and euphonium for the band.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
Okay.
I started or I was a member since 2016. The only time we stop is after COVID hits. But good thing, tomorrow, Tuesday, would be our first practice for 2022. So it's a little bit
That's great.
exciting. Yeah,
That's great
we
to
will be
to
back in action again.
exactly
Yeah,
have that come back. It's so good to see community events
hmm,
start to come back
for
now
sure.
that COVID's kind of wrapping up here. Um, from there, why don't we go and discuss the very start of your entrepreneurial journey with Fill
Hmm.
My Ride? What were some of the first steps that you took to prepare the business concept?
Okay, yeah. Since I have a degree in marketing, so what I first did is I did a business plan. I did a
Right,
market research. Is there really a need for this particular service? Even though I'm already in the industry, I don't see the bigger picture because I'm just an employee, right?
right,
I don't know the numbers, how things go. So what I did is I really just see who are the competition,
yeah.
how many vehicles can be done, or is there enough business for me to really venture on this one? So those are the things that I really factored in first before I jump into opening up my own business.
Definitely. It's really important when you're, coming up with a
Yeah.
business concept to make sure that there are customers ready for it and
Yes.
and that you can, support yourself because
Hmm.
it's a huge risk,
Of
right?
course, right? Any business
Absolutely.
is always a huge risk.
Definitely, definitely. So that's great. I think that's a great place for anyone to start is to do your market assessment and see if there's a use case for
Hmm.
your business. Now, when you started Fill My Ride, you had a partner, correct? You went
Yes.
in with
Lorenzo
Lorenzo.
Zia. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So When you started the business with Lorenzo, what kind of gains, I guess, do you have when you start a business with a partner to help contribute to your success overall?
Um, the good thing about having a partner is there's always a distribution of responsibilities, right?
Right.
Wherein, since I'm really the main guy who's doing this job, he will gonna be the main guy that we're gonna deal almost like acting as a manager,
Right.
right?
Right.
I'm almost like the ones that on the inside, and he's always the ones on the outside dealing with customers
Right.
and other stuffs wherein, let's say, if it's gonna be technical, or let's say applying for permits and other stuffs, he's the one who's doing that one during the start of the business with
Right.
regards to, let's say, ordering inventories, putting up those equipment, something like that. It was my responsibility. So we have our own venue, and we managed to really work on that one, right? Rather than
Right.
just by yourself and you try to figure out how I gonna be able to register my name, how I gonna be able to get business permit, how I gonna be able to set up my taxes or something like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be really challenging,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely. So having that extra help is
It's
so
really helpful, and
yeah.
it really works out fine.
Yeah, definitely a
Hmm.
good benefit to be able
Yep,
to distribute those,
the
responsibilities,
responsibilities.
and between two people with different skill sets,
Hmm.
right? If you're thinking about starting a business and you feel really strong about your
Hmm.
finances, like your financial ability and
Hmm.
the service maybe, but you don't know how to sell it or you don't know how to apply for certain things,
Yeah,
can be really helpful to have
to have
someone there.
someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, no, so that's great to just sort of touch on, how partnerships
Hmm.
can help you formulate a business. Now, of course, you started Fill My Ride in 2019,
Hmm.
correct? And right around the corner was that big nasty, COVID epidemic, which really impacted businesses, particularly businesses that had still been starting
Starting,
infrastructure
yes.
wise and building. So, how did COVID-19 impact Fill My Ride, sort of at the start?
Well, at the start, it really impacted the business because, as far as I remember, it was March, late March or early April, if I'm not mistaken, that the government told everyone to close their doors.
Yeah.
I remember that one. It was really nerve wracking time that time because there's lots of uncertainties. What will gonna happen? Are we still gonna close our door for how many months? That's the one question.
Yeah.
Second, how are we gonna be able to pay our bills, the
Right.
utilities that we have? It will not gonna stop. We tried to call each utility company and something like that if we can defer. Of
Right.
course, those things didn't happen technically, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, those are the questions. How are we gonna be able to pay the bills? And lastly, how are we gonna be able to pay ourselves?
Right.
Where will the money gonna come from,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's really scary. I mean,
Yeah.
those times are really scary for the business.
Yeah. It definitely navigating something that, for our generation has never happened
Didn't, yeah,
before.
no one really experienced this one. And aside from that one, you're still fearing that what is COVID? What
Yeah.
if I
Yeah.
I got sick? What will gonna happen? We don't know what COVID is, right?
Right. Right. So not only uncertainty for your
For
business,
business,
but
it's also for your health, right?
yeah, no, no, absolutely. So and how did you guys kind of make it through that really tough time?
So during that time, we really managed to, for the meantime, we didn't take any pay. We
Right.
just make it from day to day, see how it goes. If there's one customer that, let's say, he just want his vehicle tinted, we will just gonna schedule that day. He
Yeah.
will just gonna drop it off, and then once it's done, he will just gonna pick it off. No
Yeah.
contact or something like that.
Right. Right.
And then the good thing is the government launched the CERB.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
at least on the financial standpoint, it helps the business a little bit just for us to continue. Because of the
Yeah.
CRB, we managed to at least pay our bills and even get something out of it, right?
Right. Oh, exactly. So you were able to kind of,
It bridged the
navigate,
gap a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
and make those sort of tough decisions.
Hmm.
It always sucks to not be able to pay yourself, but there are
Yes.
times, right, with
Hmm.
with entrepreneurship in particular, where the bills to stay open got to come first, and
Yes,
you
before you pay
gotta
yourself, right?
exactly, exactly. No, definitely challenging. So, um, you've been operating the business since 2019.
Hmm.
You've been through quite the time so far with COVID and everything
Hmm.
else going on. But what would you say has been the most satisfying part of your journey so far?
Well, the most satisfying part is, as we mentioned earlier, is during the COVID time as well. Because
Yeah,
for me, the business is still young. We don't have any customer base yet. We're really new.
yeah,
So to manage to survive for 3 years now and becoming continue as a business, it's I can say that I'm already proud that we managed to get over the hump of COVID.
yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I also would like to thank my wife because during that time, my wife is really the one who's providing for the family during
Right.
the earlier times of COVID because she's the one who's working.
Yeah,
Even though I want to work, I can't do anything because the business is closed,
yeah,
right? And there's lots of uncertainties. It's really my wife who really
yeah.
helps me a lot on this one, especially she's always supportive with regards to the business. So, yeah,
That's super great to hear.
yeah,
I think family support in entrepreneurship is really important,
as always.
and that's so great that she's been such a rock for you.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Now, of course, on the other side of that, I got to ask, what's been the most sort of hair pullingly painful time for you? I mean, it sounds like it was probably COVID as well.
COVID as well, but also there's some cases wherein sometimes you're gonna have some issues with customers
Yeah,
on
yeah,
there's one instance wherein there's a miscommunication between the customer and us wherein it's supposed to be a full installation but we just managed to install half of it. There's some confusion, something like that.
right.
Those are really hair pulling situation because uh, it's either you're gonna lose money
Yeah,
or you lose your customer or you're gonna lose both.
exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah,
yep, even though we had issues or the customer got some issues with that one, eventually we figure out how we're gonna navigate that one, and eventually we win back the customer, and
yeah.
he even gave us a 5-star review because of
Right.
how we handled that particular situation,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, entrepreneurship is definitely make or break on those kind of hair pulling times, right?
Yes.
And I'm glad to hear that you guys were able to work that out with the customer there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sort of to wrap up the section here on your journey, what's one piece of advice you wish that you would have had at the start of Fill My Ride?
Uh, s- for that one, maybe I could say the one piece of advice that I should have before opening the film, right, or the business is uh, expect the worst, or
Right.
things might not gonna go the way you planned it, and you need to expect or at least anticipate that one.
Yeah.
Because before, I have everything set up, something like that. Everything is already in order. So on this particular day, we're supposed to be signing our garage lease.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was looking at the policy, it was just sent over to me, and then all of a sudden, the owner said someone already took the garage. I said, "Oh no, how are we gonna be able to really continue this one without a garage? I need the
Right.
garage."
Right.
And good thing after 2 weeks, I heard something from the guy that I talked maybe a month or two, something like that. And he messaged me, "Hey, I have an opening with one of my garage. Are you still interested?" I said, "Thank God there's another door that opened for me because those
Yes.
stuffs will gonna really, really test your uh what do you call this? It we're gonna test your character, wherein how you're gonna be able to handle those
Definitely.
issues, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, navigating the bad times and
Mm-hmm.
anticipating the bad times, super important.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so speaking of some advice, from yourself, Eric, the Fill My Ride team clearly excels at service. I met you guys back in 2019, and
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely love the service, and the reviews speak for themselves with your guys' team.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to sort of get your input on how a business can keep such a high standard of care for their customers, and why you feel that maintaining those customer relationships are super important.
Well, first of all, if you're always in the service industry, the first thing that you really want is to satisfy your customer. I mean, they're really the king of your business. I always make sure that whenever I'm dealing with customer, I always make them feel comfortable. I'm always being honest. I don't like just promising stuff that I cannot deliver. Most of the
Right.
time, I under promise and I over deliver. I don't do the
The
other
other
way, right?
definitely the
Something
way to
like that.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I always give them the touch of personal relationship with your customer. It's not just a blank, let's say, a counter we're in. There's just someone in there. No, I always want to interact with the customer. Especially, I'm also a car guy. Whenever a customer brings in a really nice vehicle, I always appreciate that one. I even show them my vehicle as well. It's almost like I'm just one of your neighbor or one of your friend that you're dealing
Right,
with,
right.
something like that. Really a personal touch with this one.
Yeah, yeah. So being able to kind of give that like that one-on-one,
Mm-hmm.
really personal customer service, that's kind of played a
Yeah.
big role in your success. Hey.
Yeah, and also with regards to my service, if I need to do the vehicle, let's say to do that one particular window twice or even more than once,
Right.
I will gonna do that one. Why? Because I usually want the vehicles to go out of my shop wherein I'm already satisfied that I already did my best.
That's
That's the
wonderful.
most important thing with me. Even though it takes a while or much longer than anticipated, as long as I'm satisfied before it goes out, I was gonna say I already did what I need to do.
Right. And exactly. And that's maintaining personal high standards can really, combat customers that
Mm-hmm.
also have super high standards as well. And
Yes.
combat might not be the right word, but being able to, appease customers
Yeah.
of varying degrees of their expectations, and blowing their expectations
Yeah.
away will definitely go a long way
And
for
also
sure.
being upfront. I mean,
Yeah.
don't promise for in. Let's say you're gonna give the star and the moon.
Yeah.
Don't promise that one if you cannot deliver that one, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I really like your point on under promising and
Yes.
over delivering, because you're guaranteed to blow customers
Yeah.
away
Customer will
all the
gonna
time.
be wowed, right?
Exactly, exactly. My next question for you is sort of a question I feel like a lot of new immigrants to Canada who
Mm-hmm.
want to start a new business. There's a lot there to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of coming to a new place, and learning the not only the business culture but also the community
Community
culture, and
culture. Yeah.
trying to overcome those challenges to start a business. So with your story of coming from the Philippines and being able to navigate sort of the cultures and the different legislations, and all the different things involved with
Mhm.
starting a business in Canada, what advice could you provide for them, and maybe what are some of the challenges that you personally faced and were able to overcome?
Well, with regards to the challenges, maybe the first challenge that I'm having right now is really the language. I mean, even though we can speak English, we're not really fluent speakers, right? But I'm really trying to really improve my English to certain degree wherein everyone can at least understand what I'm trying to say, or at least we were gonna have an understanding with each other, right? Something like that. With regards to the culture, one advantage of having a partner is uh, there's another person that has the experience with regards to, let's say, culture. Best example is Lorenzo.
Yeah.
My partner Lorenzo is, even though he's a Filipino heritage, he has a Filipino heritage. His parents are both Filipinos.
Yeah.
He was born and raised here in Canada. So with regards to the culture, or let's say legislation or something like that,
Yeah.
he already know how to navigate that one. It was not that hard for me to really identify that one. He just guided me and really showed me, hey, this is how things is being done in here.
Right.
how he usually talks to people or something like that. At least I have someone, right, that
Definitely.
knows those stuff. So those are
Yeah.
really at least a good thing to consider if in case you're gonna venture to something. At least have someone with at least an idea or at least an experience with regards to let's say legislation or rules and regulation or how to navigate these areas.
Right, absolutely, and I think just for some people who might be wanting to set up a business as a sole proprietor,
Mm-hmm.
just for an example,
Mm-hmm.
there are resources that they can access,
Yes.
but there's also people in your cultural background who've set
Yes.
up businesses who I'm sure would be willing to
Help
help
you with,
someone
yep. Mm-hmm.
exactly, and then of course community resources like we have Community Futures here.
Mm-hmm.
They can definitely pop in there and get some help with starting a business plan
Mm-hmm.
and navigating some of the
Yeah.
really long Canadian
Long
laws
kid,
and things like
yeah,
that,
for
right?
sure.
No, definitely. I think that's great advice though, it being
Mm-hmm.
able to find someone who of course has those areas that you're just not as strong in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Absolutely. Um, so that'll take us into the next question, which is it's kind of interesting because we've talked a bit about yourself, we talked
Mm-hmm.
a bit about Lorenzo becoming a partner, but Lorenzo's no longer part of the business, right?
Yes.
So it's all Eric at the moment,
Yes.
and that kind of that's kind of an interesting thing to touch on because a lot of people think I'm going to go into business and my friend who I started the business with me we're a team forever, right? But things happen, businesses evolve, things come up in people's personal lives. There's
Yes.
so many different factors that impact business
Mm-hmm.
structure. So as that kind of happens, how do you navigate, or how did you navigate sort of that change from, okay, I have Lorenzo's help in a partnership,
Mm-hmm.
and now it's back to now it's all on me
On
kind
me,
of thing.
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah,
As I've said, I have some business background before, so it really helps me to navigate this one. And also during the time when Lorenzo was still part of the business, I make sure I ask questions with him. We sit down, talked about how we were able to address some issues or what are the things that he's doing, how I be able to learn that one so that if in case he's not around, the business can still uh move on or something like that. So because sometimes he also takes a vacation break, right?
right, right.
When he's out of town or on vacation, I fulfill all of his responsibilities. So
Yeah.
at least that way, if in case you will just gonna be by yourself, you already know how to navigate or at least how to make the business function even just by yourself.
Yeah.
The knowledge, the things that you need to learn, it will not gonna stop just because someone is doing that one for you. You also need to learn how to do those stuffs even though you have someone, right?
Right, right. So kind of taking an active approach in the day to day, while you had
Mm-hmm.
that partnership really helped
Yeah.
out by kind of like shadowing Lorenzo and
Yes.
and his day to day tasks and things like that. We're able to kind of help you confidently take over the
Yeah, because
business,
if you
right?
have business, it's a 24/7 thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't stop you from learning everything. If you're already good with what you're doing, find other facets of the business that you're not yet you still don't know how to do it and really navigate that one and make sure you know how to do it or else the business will just gonna fold if in case one of you leave the business, right?
Right, right. And I think, I'm not too sure what exactly your situation was, but I think it's also important when a partner walks away
Mm-hmm.
to have a good sit down with them and be able to, disperse sort of your responsibilities to
Yes.
them and say, all right, this is everything that
Yeah.
I did while I was here.
Mm-hmm.
It's this is what you have to do as well now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, it's really a good walkout for him. It's because of he's just gonna have he just want to have at least more time with his family. That's
Yeah.
really the main reason.
Yeah.
We're still good friends. We just hang out last week. We just had a dinner with our wives and kids. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really a good partnership It's just that he just need to commit his
Yeah.
time to his family, something like that.
Absolutely. And those things come up, right?
Yeah.
In your journey, whether it's family or illness
Mm-hmm.
or, just taking a different step in their life. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really glad that you had that to share with us for navigating a partnership
Mm-hmm.
change. That'll take us to kind of my last question for this section. Where do you see Fill My Ride in 5 years from now? What's Eric's grand plan for Fill My Ride here in Prince George?
Actually, since my plan for Film My Ride is I don't want to become too big, wherein the personal touch of the service will just gonna be alienated with let's say you have a receptionist doesn't really care about the customer anymore. You have
Yeah.
employees where
Yeah.
if in case I just want to be on a still a small scale, maybe having at least 2 to 3 employees, something like that, especially being a specialized skills that uh, someone really need to develop themselves in order for them to perform the job. So
Right.
it's not easy to uh, get that one or learn that one right away. You really need to make sure you have the right people, something like that. So as much as possible, I just want it to be still on a personal side. We're in not too big, not too small, maybe 2 more employees or something like that.
Yeah.
And I also want the growth to be natural, organic.
Yes. Yeah.
Because the last thing that you want is you become too big and all of a sudden the structure would fail because you were not designed really to do that one.
Exactly.
Expansion here,
Yes.
upscale there, and then all of a sudden you cannot meet the expectation that the customer was expecting from you from the day one. You will just gonna set yourself for failure. I just want it to be organic or at least a natural growth for the business. I just don't want to chase my tail, something like that, and later on just gonna fail, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's a really good goal as well for businesses
Mm-hmm.
because with a business like yours and Eric really being a part of what Film My Ride is, being able to interact with you as the owner and having that high degree of service being so important to your business is something that you kind of do have to scale. And
Mm-hmm.
and you also don't want to get super overburdened either, right?
Yes.
So no, I think that's great. Eric, thank you so much again for being a guest on the podcast today. I would just love for you to close the show out today with one last piece of advice that you can share for young entrepreneurs who are trying to start their own business.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for the invitation to be part of this podcast. I really appreciate that I can at least share my experiences and knowledge with regards to really running your own business or starting up your own business. So maybe one piece of advice that I could say for future entrepreneurs or would be uh, don't be afraid. I mean, putting up your own business or starting somewhere is really a scary thing to do, but you will never know what will gonna happen. Don't think that it will gonna fail. Don't think that it will gonna succeed. No one knows. You just need to do it and do the best that you can. And from time to time, you will gonna see where you were gonna be. I mean, look at me. I started from nowhere, and then now I'm already 3 years in my business. Who will gonna know that I can manage to at least last for 3 years? So aim big. Don't be afraid to start up something new. Get out of your comfort zone and just really strive for greatness. That would be a really nice advice for anyone who's really trying to achieve what their goals in life is.